Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We are Group 7, Gonzales, Galimba, Liwanag, Furog, Morabe, and Sarsuela, discussing about property, plant, and equipment. Our learning objectives. Number 1 is state the initial and subsequent measurements of items of PPE of government entities. Number 2, describe the following and state their peculiar accounting requirements, heritage assets, infrastructures assets, and restoration projects. Number 3 is accounts for borrowing cost by a government entity. Hello, my name is Mary Jane Morabe and I will discussing about definition of terms. Number 1 is carrying amount. Sabi dyan, ipapaliwanag ko na ang diretso. This is the value of an asset that is reported on the balance sheet. It is calculated by taking the original cost of the asset and subtracting both the accumulated depreciation and any accumulated impairment losses. Example, let's say you bought a delivery van for 30,000. Over time, it depreciates by 5,000 due to wear and tear, and there are no impairment loss. So the carrying amount of the van after deducting depreciation is 25,000. Carrying amount 30,000 tapos yung depreciation is 5,000. Minus mo lang yung 5,000 sa 30,000 kaya naging 25,000. Kaya yung carrying amount ng van after deducting depreciation is 25,000. Next is cost. In accounting, this refers to the total amount of cash equivalents paid plus the fair value of any other consideration given to acquire an asset at the time of its acquisition or construction. Example ng cost, this is the original amount you paid for the van, which is 30,000. Next is depreciation. This is the process of allocating the cost of tangible asset over its useful life. It reflects how much of an asset's value has been used up during a period. Example, since the bond has useful life, let's say 5 years, you allocate the cost 30,000 over its useful life. So each year you depreciate the bond by 6,000. Cost 30,000 divided 5 years of useful life. Next is depreciable amount. This is the cost of an asset or the amount substituted for the cost in the financial statements minus its estimated residual value. It represents the total amount that is subject to depreciation over the asset useful life. Example, cost of the asset minus its residual value. Sabi nga, if you expect the bond to be worth 5,000, kunyari lang, at the end of its useful life, the depreciable amount would be 25,000 kasi 30,000 minus 5,000 is 25,000. Next is entity specific value. This is the present value of the cash flows that an entity expects to arise from the use of an asset throughout its useful life and from its disposal at the end of the life. For liabilities, it's the present value of the expected cash flows required to settle the liability. Example, this is the present value of the cash flows you expect from using the asset. Kunyari lang. If the bond helps you generate 8,000 in revenue annually, and you expect it to the last 5 years, the residual value of 5,000, you can calculate the entity specific value based on these cash flows and the discount rate. Next slide. Exchange transaction. These are transactions where one party gives something of value, assets, services, or liabilities to another party and receive approximately equal value in return. For example, buying goods with cash or exchanging services between companies. Another example. Company A purchases goods from Company B for 1,000 in cash. Company A received the goods asset from Company B, and Company B gives cash in exchange. This transaction is an exchange transaction because both parties give and receive approximately equal value. Next is fair value. This represents the value at which an asset could be exchanged or a liability settled in a transaction between knowledgeable, willing parties, typically conducted at arm's length. It's the price that would be agreed upon in an open market. Example, Company C sells a piece of land to Company D for 500,000. Both companies are aware of the current market value of the land, and they agree on the transaction at that price. The 500,000 represent the fair value of the land, an arm's length transaction between knowledgeable willing parties. Next is impairment loss of a cash-generating asset. This refers to the decrease in the value of an asset, such as machinery or equipment, that generate cash flows for the company. The impairment loss occurs when the carrying amount of the asset, its value on the balance sheet, exceeds its recoverable amount, the amount it can be sold for, or its value to the company. Example, Company E owns a piece of machinery with a carrying amount of 50,000 on its balance sheet. However, due to technological advancement, the recoverable amount of the machinery decreased to 40,000. In this case, the impairment loss would be 10,000 because 50,000 minus 40,000. Next is impairment loss of a non-cash generating asset. This is similar to impairment loss of a cash-generating asset, but it applies to assets like trademarks or goodwill that don't directly generate cash flow. The impairment loss occurs when the carrying amount of the asset exceeds its recoverable service amount, which is the amount the asset is expected to contribute to the company's future cash flows. Example, Company F owns a trademark with a carrying amount of 100,000 on its balance sheet. However, a competitor enters the market, reducing the value of the trademark. The recoverable service amount of the trademark decreased to 80,000. In in this case, the impairment loss would be 20,000 because 100,000 minus 80,000. Next is non-exchange transactions. These are transactions where one party either receives value from another party without directly giving approximately equal value in exchange, or gives value to another party without directly receiving approximately equal value in return. For example, donations to charities or government grants given without a specific exchange of goods or service. Example, Company G donates 5,000 to a local charity without receiving any directly in return. This is a non-exchange transaction because Company G gives value cash without directly receiving approximately equal value in exchange. Next slide, residual value. The residual value represents the estimated worth of an asset at the end of its useful life. It's the amount the entity would receive if they were to sell the asset after accounting for disposal cost. Typically, residual value is set a minimum 5%, sabi nga dyan sa slide, of the original cost of the asset. However, some entities may adjust this percentage based on their specific circumstances and operational factors. Example, imagine you're a school administrator and your school recently purchased a school bus for 100,000. The bus has an expected useful life 10 years. At the end of those 10 years, you estimate that the bus could be sold for 5,000 after accounting for any disposal cost in this case. Original cost of was 100,000. The residual value is 5,000 because of 5% of the original cost. Next is recoverable service amount. This term applies to non-cash generating assets such as equipment or property. It's calculated as the higher of two values, fair value less cost to sell, meaning the estimated market value of the asset minus any cost associated with selling it. Value in use, the present value of expected future cash flows from using the asset and its eventual disposal at the end of its useful life. Example, sa school. Suppose your school owns a computer lab with several desktop computers. You're considering upgrading to newer models. Example, scenario A, fair value less cost to sell. Fair value of old computers 20,000. Estimated cost to sell 2,000. Recoverable service amount is 18,000. See 20,000 na fair value of old computers 20,000 ima-minus mo sa estimated cost to sell na 2,000. Kaya yung recoverable service amount is 18,000. Sa fair value less cost to sell yun. Sa scenario B naman, value in use. Expected future cash flows from using old computers 25,000. Estimated disposal value is 3,000. Present value of cash flows is 28,000. In 25,000 expected future cash flows from using old computers minus sa estimated disposal value na 3,000. Kaya yung present value of cash flows is 28,000. Sa value in use yun. Next is useful life. The useful life of an asset refers to the period during which it is expected to be available for use by the entity. Alternatively, it can be expressed in terms of production units. Example, the number of terms a machine is expected to produce. Determining the useful life is essential for depreciation calculations and financial reporting. Example, let's say your school purchased a projector for classroom presentations. The projector is expected to the last 5 years of 10,000 hours of use, whichever comes first. The useful life can be expressed in terms of years of hours depending on the context. Next is value in cash. Katulad lang din ang in-example ko kanina. Example of value in cash. For cash generating assets like investment or business operations, value in use is crucial. It represents the present value of estimated future cash flows derived from continuing to use the asset and its eventual disposal at the end of its useful life. Consider an investment property owned by school. The property generates rental income, the value in use, and the present value of expected future rental income over its remaining useful life. Next is value in use in non-cash generating asset. In this case of non-generating asset, example is buildings, land. Value in use refers to the present value of the asset remaining service potential. Essentially, it assesses the ongoing benefit the asset provides over its remaining useful life. Example pa ulit, your school building which houses classroom and offices doesn't directly generate cash. However, it provides essential service. The value in use here is the present value of the building's remaining service potential. Example, accommodating students, teachers, and staff. Next slide. PPE refers to tangible asset that an entity owns and uses in its operations. These assets are essential for producing goods, providing services, or achieving programs objectives. They are not intended for resale, instead, they serve the organization's core functions. Characteristic of PPE, sabi nga dyan, tangible nature. PPE includes physical items such as lands, building, machinery, vehicles, and equipment. These assets are held for specific purposes such as production, service delivery, or administrative functions. Sabi long-term, sabi sa may definition long-term use. Ibig sabihin, PPE is expected to be utilized for more than one reporting period, typically beyond 1 year. Examples of PPE land. Examples of school, the school campus or any other property owned by an educational institution. Buildings, classroom buildings, administrative office, libraries, and gymnasiums. Machinery and equipments like computers, projectors, laboratory equipment, and school buses. Vehicles like school buses, vans, or any vehicles used for educational purposes. Furnitures and fixtures like desks, chairs, whiteboards, and other furnishings. Remember guys, property, plant, and equipment are long-term asset vital to business operations and the long-term financial health of company. Equipment, machinery, buildings, and vehicle are all types of PPE assets. PPE are also called fixed or tangible assets, meaning they are physical items that they cannot easily liquidate. Purchases of PPE are a signal that management has faith in the long-term outlook and profitability of its company. Next slide. Recognition. An item of PPE is recognized if it meets the definition of PPE and the recognition criteria for asset as well as the capitalization threshold of 15,000. The 15,000 capitalization threshold is the minimum cost an item should be before it is capitalized as PPE. This threshold is applied on per item basis except follows. A. Individual items with values below the threshold but work together as a group of assets are recognized as PPE if the total cost of the asset as a group is 15,000 or more. Example, the cost of web servers, routers, modems, and the other hardware comprising a communications network are, are capitalized as PPE under the communication network account. B. Bulk acquisition of small items of PPE like library book, computer peripherals, and small items of equipment recognized as PPE if their aggregate cost is 15,000 or more items below. The capitalizations threshold are recognized as inventory, semi-expandable property. Sa madaling salita, the explanation for recognizing property, plant and equipment within financial statements, essentially an item qualifies as PPE if it meets the definition and recognition criteria for asset, along with surpassing the capitalization threshold of 15,000. If individual items fall below this threshold but function collectively as group, they can still be recognized as PPE if the total cost exceeds 15,000 pa din. Similarly, bulk acquisition of small PPE items are recognized if their combined cost is 15,000 or more. Items that don't meet the capitalization threshold are treated as inventories rather than PPE. Example, suppose a company purchased a new machine for its manufacturing process. The machine cost 20,000. E di pasok to, PPE to, recognized as PPE. Pero if the machine costs were only 12,000, it would not meet the recognition criteria and it would be treated as inventory. Next slide. Initial measurement PPE are initially measured cost. The initial cost comprise the following: A. Purchase price, including import duties and non-refundable purchase taxes after deducting trade discount and rebates. B. Direct cost of bringing the asset to the location and condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner it's intended by management. And See present value of decommissioning and restoration cost. Decommissioning cost refer to the cost of dismantling or installing a PPE at the end of its useful life. Restoration costs refer to the cost of restoring the site where the PPE is previously installed. The present value of these estimated costs are capitalized as cost the PPE with a corresponding credit to a liability account. Thus, some items are excluded from the cost of PPE. Trade discounts. These are discounts offered by suppliers for bulk purchases. Trade discounts are subtracted from the purchase price. Cash discounts if the company pays early. Kung tatandaan nyo pa na pag-aralan na natin ito sa IA2, example, within a specified period, it may receive cash discounts. These discounts are also subtracted from the purchase price. Non-refundable taxes. Taxes that are directly related to the acquisition, such as sale tax, are excluded in the cost. However, any tax that are refundable, such as income tax, are excluded. Example, imagine a construction company purchasing a bulldozer for a total price of 50,000. In addition, direct transportation costs to deliver the bulldozer to the construction site amount 2,000. Legal fees related to the acquisition are 1,500. The bulldozer will require decommissioning in the future, estimated as a present value of 5,000. The initial measurement cost for this bulldozer would be i-analyze natin. Yung purchase price daw is 50,000. Yung direct cost, 2,000 for transportation. 1,500 for legal fees. Equals 305,000 na. Present value of decommissioning cost, 5,000. So, magkano na yung total initial cost? Total initial cost, 50 plus 3,500. 50,000 plus 3,500 plus 5,000 is equal 58,500. Magpa-plusin lang sila. Para mag-get natin yung total initial cost na 58,500.
Good afternoon to each and everyone. I am Kim Galimba. Now let us know why accountability is important. How an active role in decision making empowers students. Students recognize their strengths and areas of improvement. They are able to advocate for their needs, improves confidence. Students become aware of prepared learning style, allows class to provide feedback. Students value their time and work, provides flexibility to adjust expectations and behaviors. Builds class engagement. Students learn to set achievable goals. Accountability is essential as it encourages students to acknowledge their strengths and areas needing development, fostering self-awareness and personal growth. By actively engaging in decision-making processes, students cultivate the ability to advocate for their needs, boosting confidence and awareness of their preferred learning style. This empowerment through accountability enables students to provide feedback, value their time and effort, adjust expectations, enhance class engagement, and develop skills in setting and achieving realistic goals, ultimately promoting a proactive and successful learning environment. Next slide, please. Examples of directly attributable costs. First, cost of employee benefits arising directly from the construction or acquisition of PPE. Second, cost of site preparation. Third, initial delivery and handling costs. Example, freight costs. Next, installation and assembly costs. And lastly, testing costs, not disposal, receipt of samples generated during testing, and professional fees. Applying the capitalization threshold to 15,000 pesos. The capitalization threshold of 15,000 pesos represents the minimum cost of an individual asset recognized as a PPE on the Statement of Financial Position. Applying the capitalization threshold of 15,000 means that any individual asset costing equal to or more than 15,000 pesos will be recognized as a property, plant and equipment or PPE on the company's financial statements. For example, if a company purchases a machine for 20,000 pesos, it would be classified as PPE due to exceeding the threshold. Conversely, if the company buys office supply worth 10,000 pesos, this would not be considered PPE as they fall below the 15,000 pesos threshold and would be expenses as supply instead. This threshold helps companies categorize their assets appropriately and ensure the significant long-term assets are reflected accurately on their financial statement. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning, Prof. Good morning, classmate. I'm Malia Sharina Gonzalez, and this is my report. Modes of acquisition. Acquisition by purchase. Cash flow discount, whether taken or not, are extended from the initial measurement. Cash discount not taken are recognized as the other losses. So, dito po, masasabi natin na ang initial measurement ng exclude cash discount regardless whether or taken or not, ito po yung unclaimed discount are considered other losses. So, next, yung PPE purchase under an installment basis is initially measured at the cash price equivalent. So, kapag nag-purchase po tayong galing PPE measured, ang initial cash price is under installment basis. So, yun po yung parang sa mga home credit, something na pwede po tayong mag-apply through installment. Okay, next. Promotion items are accounted for as follows. So, sabi naman dito, yung acquisition cost for all times, yung items is parang magpapalo siya through that account. Okay, next. If the promotional item is the same as those purchased, the total acquisition cost is allocated to the all items acquired including the promotional item. So, sabi naman po dito, yung items including promotional allocated are the same. Parang same lang po sila sa PPE measured at initial cash price equivalent under installment basis. So, next, if the promotional item is different from the other items acquired, the initial cost of promotional item is fair value. The purchase price net of the fair value of the... Okay, next. Okay, letter B na po. Acquisition by construction. Acquisition through construction, contracts awarded to contractors, the cost is the contract price. Okay. The construction contract price includes the direct project cost, including field supervision expenses plus the markup imposed by contractors for general overhead expenses and profit. Ang factor po nito is parang ini-influence niya ang facility price para mabari ito and location as well, para parang ma-promote yung location ng same construction contract. Okay, next. Construction by administration, self-construction. The cost includes direct materials, labor, and other construction overheads. of times, yung manufacturing po, companies, minsan nag-decide sila para mas makontract yung asset of their own rather than purchasing it from another source. Construction costs are initially recorded in the construction in progress account pending the compilation of the asset. Upon compilation of the construction are classified to the appropriate PPE account. Ayan, sabi naman po dito, PPE includes the cost of direct materials, labor, and others constructions overhead. The cost of wasted materials, labor, or other resources incurred in constructing the property are recognized as expense. Letter C na po. Letter C. Acquisition through exchange with commercial substance, order, or priority. Number 1. Fair value of asset given up plus any cash paid or minus any cash received. Number 2. Fair value of asset received or. Number 3. Carrying amount of asset given up plus any cash paid of minus any cash received. Lacks commercial substances, carrying amount the asset given up plus any cash paid or minus any cash received. So, sabi naman po dyan, in virtually all cases, fair value in the accounting basis used to record items. Parang i-reserve nito and i-exchange yung book value of the old asset is removed from the account and their new model is then reported as fair value. So, yung mga new model na lalabas, parang mare-report na siya para sa parang fair value. Okay, letter D. Acquisition through non-exchange transaction measured at fair value at the acquisition date. Number 1. If without condition, recognized immediately as income. Number 2. If with condition, initial recognized is a liability and subsequently recognized as income when the condition is met. So, yung letter D naman po, sabi dyan, yung acquisition through non-exchange transaction measured at fair value at the acquisition date. If without condition, recognized immediately as income. If it with condition, initially recognized as liability, other deferred credits, and subsequently recognized as income when condition is met. Once na nag-met yung condition, yung income at yung recognized, once na nag-met yon, parang mas mabubuo yung income na ginagamit dito. Okay, letter E po. Acquisition through intra-agency or inter-agency transfer measured at fair value at acquisition date. So, letter E. Ayan, sa letter E naman po, acquisition through intra-agency. Sabi dyan, yung mami-measure yung fair value at acquisition date once na nag-interact yung bought transfer ng fair value nitong dalawang to. Letter F. Grants are assistance in the form of transfer of resources in cash or in kind to an agency entity from other levels of government, private sector, and international institution with or without condition relating to the operating activities of the agency or entity. Okay. Sabi naman po dito, they can be in the form of cash or other asset and may come condition related to agency's activities. Yung grant nito, kino-consider as income and match with the relevant cost over time. Yung non-monetary grants naman are measured at the fair value when acquired. Recognition depends reasonable assurance. The entity will comply with the condition attached. Yun lang po. Next po, next reporter po.
Subsequent expenditure on recognized PPE. Capitalization of cost increases when the PPE is in the location of condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner intended by management. Therefore, costs incurred in using or deploying a PPE are not capitalized. So dito, yung mga capital ng cost na mga gastos ay tumataas kapag ang PPE ay nasa location at kondisyon na kinakailangan para siya ay capable of operating in the manner intended by management. So, sa makatuwid, ang mga gastos na natamo sa paggamit ng pag-deploy ng PPE ay not capitalized. Repairs and maintenance. 1. Minor repairs, ito naman is yung gastos na pang-araw-araw na serbisyo ng isang item ng PPE na kinakailangan upang to maintain its operating capability. Ito yung mga charge bilang isang expenses. So, number 2 is major repairs are considered betterments and are capitalized. If it's not clear whether or minor or major, it is treated as a minor. So, betterments, ito yung sinasabi dito is yung enhancement to the service potential of a capital asset. For example, is a road may need surfacing every few years under recognition principle. The cost of resurfacing shall be recognized in the carrying amount of the PPE road. However, the carrying amount of those parts are resurfaced shall be recognized in accordance with the recognition provision of this standard. Replacement and cost. So, the carrying amount of the old part is the recognized and charged as loss. So, here, repairs are restoration work for when an asset breaks, get damaged, or stops working. So, the cost of the new part is capitalized. So, dito, in general, capitalizing expenses is beneficial as companies acquiring new asset with the long-term life plans can memorize or depreciate the cost. So, the carrying amount of the old part cannot be determined. The cost of the new part is used as a basis. So, dito, kung ang halaga of the old part is hindi matukoy or hindi ma-determine, so yung halaga naman ng new part is yun yung ginagamit bilang batayan. Spare parts and servicing equipment. Minor spare parts are recognized as inventory and charged as expense when consumed. So, dito, ito yung mga minor spare parts na to na na-recognize to as inventory like property, goods in stock, or the contents of a building, and charge to as expense when consumed. So, major spare parts and standby equipment are recognized as PPE when they meet the recognition criteria. They are expected to be used over more than one period. Spare parts and servicing equipment that can only be used in conjunction with an item of PPE are accounted for as PPE. So here, items such as spare parts, standby equipment, and servicing equipment should be recognized as property, plant, and equipment when they meet the definition of property, plant, and equipment. Those spare parts, standby equipment, and servicing equipment are held for use in the production or supply, for rental to others, or for administrative purposes, and are expected to be used during more than one period. Otherwise, they should be classified as inventories in accordance with IAS 2 inventories. Betterments are enhancements to the future economic benefits of a PPE, such as increase in previously assessed physical output or service capacity. So, ito yung pagtaas sa previous assessed physical output o yung kapasidad ng serbisyo. Reduction in associated operating costs. So, dito basically yung term na reduction is ito yung pagbabawas sa gastos or sa gastos sa pagpapatakbo. Extension of the useful. So, here, ito yung estimated extension para pakinabangan. Improvement in the quality output, improvement lang ng quality or yung kalidad ng output. Costs of betterments are capitalized if they meet the recognition criteria for PPE and are subsequently depreciated as follows. A. Over the remaining useful life if the betterment increases the service potential of the asset without extending the useful life. B. Over the extended useful life if the betterment extend the useful life of the asset, the extended period shall not exceed the original estimate of the useful life of the asset. So, for example, is a road may need surfacing every few years under the recognition principle. The cost of resurfacing shall be recognized in the carrying amount of the PPE, which is road. However, the carrying amount of those parts that are surfaced shall be recognized in accordance with the recognition provisions of this standard. Addition and rearrangements. Addition are modification which is increase the physical size or function of the PPE. An addition can be a new unit that is physically distinct from the old unit, or B, an extension, or enlargement of the old unit. So, for example, is the addition of a wiring to a building or the additional of an air conditioning system increases the service potential of the facility and should be capitalized. On the other hand, rearrangements are costs incurred in moving an asset from one location to another that will be benefit future periods but do not represent addition, replacement, or improvements. So, the cost of a new unit is depreciated over its own useful life. An expansion cost is depreciated over the shorter or its useful life of the remaining life of the PPE of which is its part. Rearrangement is the relocation or reinstallation of the asset which proves to be less. So here, the cost of an addition, which is a new unit, is depreciated over its useful life, but the cost of an expansion shall be depreciated over its useful life or remaining life of the PPE, which is part, whichever is shorter. Rearrangement cost is the relocation or reinstallation of an asset which proves to be less efficient in its original location. This cost is also known as moving cost, reinstallation cost, and relocation cost. This cost is capitalized and amortized over the remaining life of the asset for which it pertains. The undepreciated cost of the original installation cost should be expensed and the pertinent accumulated depreciation accordingly cancelled.
Good day, everyone. I am Giancarlo Sarsuela of Group 7, and my topic is subsequent measurement. PPE, or property, plant, and equipments, are subsequently measured using the cost model. Ayon po sa government accounting, minimeasure po natin at nire-record po natin ang isang property, plant, and equipments or ang asset subsequently using the cost model. Ang cost model po ay presented siya at cost less accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairment loss if meron po. Alam naman na po natin kung ano yung ibig sabihin o kung ano yung accumulated depreciation. Ang kailangan lang po natin tandaan dito sa government accounting is straight line method po ang lagi natin ginagamit kapag nagde-depreciate po tayo. Ang straight line method is ang cost less the salvage value ng isang asset and divided by its useful life. Depreciation begins when the asset is available for its intended use. So ang sabi lang po dito, once na yung asset is available na for its intended use, dun lang po mag-i-start yung pag-depreciate niya. For simplicity, if a PPE becomes available for its intended use on or before the 15th of the month, depreciation is computed at the beginning of that month. After the 15th of the month, depreciation is computed at the beginning of the following month. Ito po yung tinatawag natin na 15th of the month rule. Ang sabi lang po dito, if yung PPE po is nagamit on or before the 15th of the month, for example, May 13 or 14, yung pag-depreciate niya is magsisimula sa umpisa ng month na yun. For example is May 1. But kung yung asset is nagamit natin after the 15th of the month, for example is May 16 to 20, ganun, mag-start po ma-depreciate ang isang asset at the beginning of the following month, which is yung June. Depreciation ceases when the asset is derecognized or fully depreciated. Ibig sabihin po, maderecognize lang po ang isang asset if it's fully depreciated. Depreciation does not cease when the asset becomes idle or retired from active use and held for disposal. So, kahit po yung asset is hindi natin ginagamit or retired from its active use, yung pagdi-depreciate niya is hindi po titigil. Tuloy-tuloy po siya magdi-depreciate. The straight line method of depreciation shall be used unless another method is more appropriate. Residual value shall be at least 5% of cost unless an entity determines a more appropriate estimate subject to the approval of COA. The residual value and the useful life of an asset shall be reviewed at least at each annual reporting date, and if expectations differ from previous estimate, the changes shall be accounted for as a change in an accounting estimate. And last, depreciation shall be recognized on a monthly basis. Next is impairment. A PPE is impaired if its carrying amount exceeds its recoverable service amount or recoverable amount. Impairment po is kapag mas malaki po yung carrying amount ng isang asset kaysa sa recoverable amount niya. For example, meron po tayong asset na may carrying value na 15,000. And yung asset na po yun, include na po dun yung current value niya and consider na yung original cost and the cost of disposal. And then sabihin natin yung recovery amount natin is only 10,000. This means po na yung company natin is merong impairment loss na 5,000. Kasi po, mas tumaas yung carrying amount or carrying value ng asset natin kaysa sa recoverable amount niya. Yung recoverable amount o yung recoverable service amount po na sinasabi po dito is yung higher of a non-cash generating assets fair value less cost to sell and its value in use. Meron po tayong two types ng computation of value in use. The value in use of a cash generating asset and the value in use of a non-cash generating asset, which is yung nabanggit dun kanina. Value in use of a cash generating asset, the present value of the estimated future cash flows expected to be derived from the continuing use of an asset and from its disposal at the end of its useful life. Yung non-cash generating asset naman po is yung present value of the asset's remaining service potential. Meron naman po tayong three methods or approach sa pag-compute ng value in use. First is depreciated replacement cost approach. The value in use is equal to the asset's replacement cost adjusted for depreciation to reflect the asset's use condition. Replacement cost is the cost of replacing or reproducing the assets, whichever is lower. Ang pag-compute po natin ng value in use is based on replacement cost. Kung magkano yung replacement cost ng isang item or ng asset na ipipalit natin, then yung adjusted depreciation niya. Next po is restoration cost approach. The value in use is equals to depreciated replacement cost minus the estimated restoration cost. The restoration cost is the cost of restoring the service potential of an asset to its pre-impaired level. Ginagamit naman po natin itong restoration approach para maibalik po natin ang amount or condition ng asset bago pa siya ma-impaired. And the last approach is service units approach. Value in use is depreciated replacement cost minus a proportionate reduction to reflect the reduced number of service units expected from the asset in its impaired state. Almost same lang po sila ng restoration approach, except ang ibabawas po natin dito ay ang proportionate reduction cost, not estimated restoration cost. Ginagamit po natin itong service units approach para po i-reduce yung number of service units dahil po sa nangyaring impairment ng asset. Reversal of impairment. The principle used in recognizing reversals of impairment loss on items of PPE are the same as those used for investment property. So, hindi na po masyado diniscuss dito sa chapter 10 yung paggamit ng reversal of impairment since natakal naman po siya natakal naman na po siya ng mga naunang reporters. Para lang po mabalikan natin, nagre-reverse po tayo ng impairment loss kapag yung ating recoverable service amount is mas tumaas or nakabawi kaysa sa ating carrying amount.
Okay, so for the heritage asset naman po, heritage assets are those have historical, cultural, and environmental significance and are intended to be preserved for future generation. Okay. In this nation, fall the assets that have intrinsic, historical, artistic, scientific, and technological. Yung environmental qualities, historical buildings, monuments, and archaeological sites, nature reserved as protected areas and works of art. Okay, next, heritage assets are measured at cost. They are not depreciated but subject to impairment. So, yung cost of such an item of heritage asset is measured at fair value unless the fair value of neither the asset received nor the asset given up is really by measurable. Okay? Next, however, heritage assets that have future economic benefits other than their heritage value are depreciated similar to the one item of PPE. So, sabi naman po dito, yung heritage assets, hindi siya, are not depreciated but subject to impairment. If determinable, a heritage asset's fair value is disclosed. However, heritage assets have future economic benefits or service potential others than their heritage value are depreciated. Similar sa other items of PPE. Heritage assets are not recognized in the books of accounts or recorded in the Registry of Heritage Assets. Yun lamang po. Thank you.
Good day, my name is Dani Rose Liwanag and this is the first slide of my report. Infrastructure assets. Infrastructure assets include road networks, including facilities such as traffic lights and road signage, flood control, sewer, water and power supply systems, communications network, railways, seaports, airports, and the like. Infrastructure assets are accounted for similar to the other items of PPE. They are initially measured at cost and subsequently depreciated. However, generally, infrastructure assets have no residual value. In cases where a part of an infrastructure asset has a residual value, it shall be at least 5% of the cost of that part. Ang infrastructure assets ay broadly categorized as tangible fixed assets at kasama sa property, plant, and equipment. Ito ay sumasaklaw sa isang malawak na hanay ng mga physical structures and systems na nagbibigay ng mga kinakailangang serbisyo sa publiko tulad ng transportation, communication, water supply, at energy distribution. Katulad ng iba pang mga item ng PPE, ang mga infrastructure assets ay subject to depreciation upang ilaan ang kanilang mga gastos sa kanilang estimated useful lives. Ang method ng depreciation na ginamit ay dapat na sumasailalim sa pattern kung saan ang assets' future economic benefits ay expected to be consumed. Ang mga infrastructure assets ay itinuring na no residual value dahil sa kanilang long-term and essential nature. Pero sa mga cases kung saan ang isang bahagi ng infrastructure assets ay inaasahang may residual value, naglalapat ito ng mga particular na alintuntunin. Ang residual value ng naturang bahagi ay dapat na hindi bababa sa 5% ng gastos nito. At tinitiyak na ang nababawas na halaga ay sumasailalim sa mga economic benefits consumed during the asset's useful life.
Reforestation projects. It refers to the renewal of a forest covered by planting seeds or young trees. Reforestation projects recorded as land improvements in the books of DENR or other government entity. Subsequent costs are accounted for as follows. Maintenance and protection costs incurred within the duration of the project are capitalized. Those incurred after the turnover of the projects are charged as expense. Ang reforestation projects po is hindi nagdi-depreciate. Rather, subject siya to impairment or impairment loss dahil sa mga fictitious events. Thank you.
Hello, this is the continuation of my report, the recognition. A PPE is recognized when it is disposed or when no future economic benefits is expected from it. On the recognition, the difference between the carrying amount and the net disposal proceeds. If any, it is recognized as gain or loss in surplus or deficit. Ang derecognition ay isang mahalagang konsepto sa financial reporting na nag-uugnay sa pag-alis ng isang asset or liability from an entity's balance sheet. Mahalagang maunawaan ang mga pangyayari kung saan ang isang asset ay derecognized at ang accounting treatment ay associated with derecognition. Kung matukoy ng isang entity na walang mga future economic benefits na makukuha mula sa isang particular na PPE, dapat nitong ihinto ang pag-recognize ng asset sa mga financial statement nito. Maaari itong magresulta mula sa mga factors gaya ng pagkaluma ng teknolohiya, mga pagbabago sa market demand, o physical damage na nagiging dahilan upang hindi magamit ang asset. Upon the recognition of PPE, the difference between the carrying amount of the asset and the net disposal proceeds, if any, it is recognized as a gain or loss in surplus or deficit. This recognition is in line with the principle of prudence, which requires the recognition of losses when they are incurred but restricts the recognition of gains until they are realized. The gain or loss on the recognition represents the financial impact of disposing of the PPE or ceasing to recognize its future economic benefits. Idle, fully depreciated, and unserviceable PPE. Idle PPE refers to assets that are temporarily taken out of active use or temporarily abandoned. It is important to note that idle PPE is not derecognized from the financial statements but continues to be depreciated. The decision to temporarily idle PPE may arise due to various reasons such as changes in production schedules, technological advancements, or temporary cessation of operations in a particular segment of the business. When PPE is idle, it does not generate economic benefits for the entity but is still considered to be in use and available for future use. A PPE is considered fully depreciated when its carrying amount is equal to zero or its residual value. Carrying amount refers to the historical cost of the asset less its accumulated depreciation. while residual value represents the estimated value of the asset at the end of its useful life. When the carrying amount of PPE reaches zero or its residual value, it signifies that the entity has fully recovered the cost of the asset through depreciation expense over its useful life. Despite being fully depreciated, PPE is not derecognized from the financial statements as long as they are still in use. This is based on the principle of conservatism in accounting, which dictates that assets should not be written off prematurely. The continued recognition of fully depreciated PPE allows the entity to reflect the ongoing use of the asset in its operations, even though its carrying amount has been fully allocated through depreciation. Unserviceable property are those which do not have future economic benefits. Unserviceable property is derecognized. The derecognition of unserviceable PPE involves the removal of the assets from the balance sheet, along with the elimination of their associated carrying amount and accumulated depreciation. This process reflects the true and fair view of the entity's financial position by removing the assets that are no longer capable of contributing to its operations or generating future economic benefits. When unserviceable PPE is derecognized, any resulting gain or loss from the disposal or write-off of the assets should be recognized in the income statement. This ensures that the financial effects of disposing of the unserviceable assets are accurately reflected in the entity's financial performance for the period. The gain or loss on the recognition is calculated as the difference between the proceeds from disposal, if any, and the carrying amount of the unserviceable PPE. Lost PPE. When a PPE is lost through force majeure, the officer having custody of the PPE shall immediately notify the COA within 30 days and shall submit an application for relief together with supporting evidence. If warranted by the evidence, a credit for loss shall be allowed. Failure to do the requirements will not relieve the officer of liability. The carrying amount of the loss of PPE is derecognized and charged as loss. Pending the result of the investigation, the accountability of the officer shall be established, equal to the depreciated replacement cost of the lost PPE. If a credit for loss is subsequently allowed to the officer, the accountability is simply reversed. If not, the officer shall pay cash to settle his accountability. It means that when a PPE is lost, whether due to force majeure or any other reason, it is essential for the officer to have custody of the PPE to immediately notify the Commission on Audit within 30 days. This prompt notification is crucial to initiate the process of reporting the loss and seeking relief as per the stipulations of PD number 1445, Section 73. The timely reporting ensures that the appropriate authorities are informed of the loss, allowing for the thorough investigation and determination of accountability. Upon notifying the COA of the lost PPE, the officer having custody of the PPE is required to apply for relief, accompanied by supporting evidence. The application for relief serves as a formal request for consideration of the circumstances surrounding the loss of PPE, and the supporting evidence is essential to substantiate the claim and provide the relevant information to facilitate the assessment of the situation. The evidence may include documentation, incident reports, witness statements, or any other pertinent information that shed light on the circumstances leading to the loss of the PPE. Under the provision of PD number 1445, section 73, if the evidence warrants it, a credit for loss shall be allowed. This allowance acknowledges the unforeseen nature of the loss and provides relief to the officer responsible for the custody of the lost PPE. The decision to allow credit for loss is contingent upon the assessment of the evidence presented, and it reflects the recognition of the extenuating circumstances that led to the loss of PPE. When PPE is lost, the carrying amount of the lost PPE is to recognized and charged as a loss in the financial records of the organization. This accounting treatment reflects the economic impact of the lost PPE and ensures that the financial statements accurately reflect the change in the organization's asset base. That the recognition and charging of the loss align with the accounting principles and regulatory requirements, contributing to the transparency and reliability of the organization's financial reporting. Pending the result of the investigation into the loss of PPE, the accountability of the officer having custody of the lost PPE shall be established. This determination of accountability is essential to allocate responsibility for the lost PPE and assess the implications for the officer. The establishment of accountability is based on factors such as the circumstances of the loss, the supporting evidence, and the adherence to relevant protocols and procedures. If a credit for loss is subsequently allowed to the officer following the investigation, the accountability is simply reversed. This reversal acknowledges the exoneration of the officer in light of the evidence and the decision to allow credit for loss. It signifies that the resolution of the accountability issue and the restoration of the officer's standing concerning the loss of PPE. If a credit for loss is not allowed to the officer shall be required to pay cash to settle his accountability. This provision underscores the ultimate responsibility of the officer for the lost PPE if relief is not granted. The settlement of accountability through the payment of cash reflects the repercussions of the loss and serves as a means of addressing the financial impact within the framework and the organization's policies and regulations. Receipt and disposition of PPE. First is the property acknowledgement receipt. It is used by the supply or property division to record the issuance of PPE to the end user. This is based on the approved requisition and issue slip submitted by the requesting individual. This is the equivalent of the report of supplies and materials issued used for inventories. Next is the report on the physical count of property, plant, and equipment. At the end of each year, the entity shall perform a physical count of PPE and prepare this report. This report shall be submitted to the COA not later than January 31 of the following year. Ang Property Acknowledgement Receipt ay nagsisilbing isang mahalagang dokumento na ginagamit ng Supply or Property Division upang itala ang pagbibigay ng PPE sa end user. Ito ay batay sa naaprobahang requisition and issue slip na isinumite ng isang requesting individual. Ang RIS ay naglalaman ng mahalagang detalye tulad ng description of the PPE, quantity requested, purpose of issuance, at recipient's information. Sa pag-issue ng PPE, ina-acknowledge ng end user ang resibo sa pamamagitan ng pagpirma sa property acknowledged receipt na ito at kinukumpirma na ang paglipat ng responsibilidad para sa mga allocated assets. Report on the physical count of property, plant, and equipment. At the end of each year, the entity is required to perform a physical count of PPE and prepare a comprehensive report detailing the findings. This report, which encompasses all tangible assets such as land, buildings, machinery, furniture, and vehicles, is a critical tool for validating the existence and condition of the organization's assets. The physical count serves as a means of verifying the accuracy of the accounting records and detecting any discrepancies or irregularities. The submission of the report to the Commission on Audit is not later than January 31 of the following year, and it is a regulatory requirement aimed at promoting transparency and accountability in the management of public resources. It enables external auditors to assess the organization's compliance with statutory provisions and ascertain the reliability of the financial statements. Next is the Inventory and Inspection Report for Unserviceable Property. It is used to account for all unserviceable property subject to disposal. The Inventory and Inspection Report for Unserviceable Property plays a pivotal role in the proper accounting for assets that are no longer in usable condition and are subject to disposal. It is conducted to assess the extent of damage or deterioration and to determine whether any salvageable components can be repurposed or recycled. This process ensures that the organization maximizes the value recovery from the disposal of assets and minimizes the environmental impact of waste generation. The report of lost, stolen, damaged, or destroyed property is a critical tool for addressing incidents that result in the loss or impairment of PPE. It is used by the accountable officer to notify the concerned officials and initiate the necessary actions to rectify the situation. Prompt reporting of such incidents is essential to facilitate the timely investigation, documentation, and resolution of asset-related issues. Next is the report of lost, stolen, damaged, or destroyed property. It is used by the accountable officer to notify the concerned officials of the lost, stolen, damaged, or destroyed property. Next is the property transfer report. It is used to record transfers of property from one accountable officer to another. The property transfer report is utilized to record the transfers of property from one accountable officer to another, thereby ensuring the accurate documentation of changes in custody and responsibility of PPE. It encompasses details such as description of the transferred assets, the names of the transferring and receiving officer. It encompasses details such as the description of the transferred assets, the names of the transferring and receiving officers, the reasons for the transfer, and any accompanying conditions or restrictions. That's all for my report. Thank you. Next slide.
Borrowing costs. Borrowing costs are interest and other expenses incurred by an entity in connection with the borrowing of funds. Borrowing costs are referred to the interest and other expenses that an entity bears when obtaining funds through borrowing. These costs are typically associated with loans, bonds, or other forms of debt financing and are capitalized as part of the cost of acquiring qualifying assets. For example, if a company takes out a loan to construct a new factory, the interest incurred during the construction period would be considered borrowing costs and added to the cost of the factory as part of the asset's total cost. This treatment ensures that borrowing costs directly attributable to the acquisition or construction of qualifying assets are not expensed immediately but capitalized over the asset useful life, aligning with the matching principle in accounting. Next slide, please. Recognition of borrowing costs. 1. benchmark treatments expensed in the period incurred. 2. Allowed alternative treatment capitalized if the borrowing costs are directly attributable to the accusation of a qualifying asset. Qualifying asset is an asset that necessarily takes a substantial period of time to get ready for its intended use or sale. The recognition of borrowing costs involves two approaches: the benchmark treatment and the allowed alternative treatment. Under the benchmark treatment, borrowing costs are expensed in the period they are incurred, impacting the company's current financial statement directly. In contrast, the allowed alternative treatment permits the capitalization of borrowing costs if they are directly linked to the accusation of a qualifying asset, which is an asset requiring a significant period for preparation before its intended use or sale. For instance, if a company borrows funds specifically to finance the construction of a new building, a qualifying asset, the interest expenses incurred during the construction period can be capitalized as part of the building's cost under the allowed alternative treatment, aligning with the asset's long-term benefits rather than expensing them immediately. This approach ensures that borrowing costs are appropriately matched the asset they help generate, reflecting a more accurate representation of the asset's total cost over its useful life. Next slide, please. Recognition of borrowing costs. Applications. The borrowing costs on loans borrowed by a national government recorded by BTR are expensed. Example, benchmark treatment. Letter B. Government agencies are capitalized if they relate to the accusation of a qualifying asset. Example, allowed alternative treatment. The recognition of borrowing costs varies between the national government and government agencies. For the national government, borrowing costs on loans managed by the Bureau of Treasury, or yung BTR, are expensed as per the benchmark treatment, meaning they are recognized as expenses in the period of they incurred. Conversely, of government agencies, borrowing costs are capitalized under the allowed alternative treatment if they are directly linked to the accusation of qualifying asset. For example, if a government agency borrows funds to construct a new public hospital, a qualifying asset, the interest expenses incurred during the construction period can be capitalized as part of the hospital total cost. This treatment aligns with the asset long-term benefits and ensures that borrowing costs are matched with the assets they help create, reflecting a more accurate representation of the asset cost over its useful life. That's all. Thank you.